Everybody, Dr. Ori Quinn here at Ozark Holistic Center. And today I want to talk about my experience working with acne. So anywhere from just normal kind of acne to even cystic acne. It is a question we actually get quite often, which is really neat because there are some really great things to know in the kind of holistic space of how the body works that can be a huge help in this process. Um, So, for starters, what it mainly has to do with is the body's ability and processing of fats and its breakdown of fats. Um, and so, a huge factor comes back to the gut and like how the gut's working. And we don't often think about it this way, but the skin is what we call epithelial tissue. Uh, it's partially called that because it's like that most outer surface, and it's like protective mechanism to protect us from things getting in. Well, our skin and our gut are actually not just they are connected. Like we have one continual system running through us and out the other side, and it connects in and attaches into our skin. And so our gut lining is epithelial tissue as well, and we just don't often think of that or maybe talk about it that way, but it is true. So any irritation, which we see even with like rashes, right? Like you get some irritation on the skin, and often that rash will start spreading um, to elsewhere. And so the same thing applies here. If you have irritation, aggravation in the digestive tract, you'll see that manifest throughout the rest of the epithelial tissue because it has different cellular communication mechanisms and pathways that it has. And so the gut becomes kind of the key to this, but it's not just calm it down, it's also to help it get it to work right. So in general, the way I look at it is through, again, fat metabolism and breakdown, and try to help assist in that process. And there's lots of things that can affect that. So food sensitivities, eating things that your body is not liking right now, reacting to. In other videos, we talk about like H. pylori, which is something that can be got even in people's younger years, because that starts to affect the way the body breaks down foods. Um, Another big one there is yeast, or people call candida. And so candida is a natural yeast that's found in our digestive tract. When people consume too many refined carbohydrates and sugars, it becomes way more prominent and then can start to play a role or affect things. And so those have to be like taken into consideration when we're actually working through like a treatment for it. And this kind of gets further like proven actually by the like looking at what is used medically to try to treat cystic acne, which is usually steroids and antibiotics. Um, so the antibiotics are going to come in and take, and they're going to like kill off the bacteria that's found in the gut, both good and bad. And when that actually helps someone with acne, what it implies is that they had too much of the bad bacteria producing compounds you don't want an overload of in your system. And so, for an order the body to get rid of that, it's got to push it out and get rid of it somewhere. There's different ways that happens, and through the skin is one of those. And so, their avenue of coming in with the steroids and the antibiotics is to say just suppress that, just like keep that down, bad bacteria down, like permanently through the antibiotics. But the problem with that is that means you're going to keep down the good bacteria as well, and you're going to affect the way your body breaks down food, brings in nutrients, and absorbs those nutrients and uses them. So long-term use, and you've got a problem. Steroids, similar mechanism, because steroids help calm the inflammation pathways. And if you look at how the body naturally lowers inflammation pathways, it's through fats and healthy fats and happy fat metabolism, and the fats that it needs in order to keep those levels low. So they're seeing this in the medical space and using those medications as their solution. Well, your other avenue is to come back in and say, hey, how do we encourage a healthy gut biome that's going to produce more of the good bacteria that you need and not the bad kinds, with all these byproducts you don't want excess of? And then how do we encourage healthy fat breakdown in order to maintain lower inflammation levels in the body? Um, so in the fat world, just kind of hit these real quick. In the fat world, right? So people talk about omega-3s and omega-6s, and it has to do with that, like in those like ratios. And for fat, most of the fat processing happens in line with the gallbladder. And so the gallbladder produces what's called bile, which helps the body break down and assimilate fats. So the gallbladder has to be looked at. Like, is it working? How's it working? And the gallbladder is heavily affected by hormones, which is why this often hits around like the time of puberty or people going into puberty. is that you're also going to get this change and shift and increase of hormones, and how the gallbladder and liver handle that will be the thing that usually kind of slows down or affects the gallbladder. And then the other one is the microbiome of the gut. So we have to encourage healthy microbiome. And the key and kind of secret to healthy microbiome is diversification. The more variety of different plants, different herbs, different spices that are brought in, and healthy like fiber sources, then you start to encourage different types of bacteria to grow, the right kinds of bacteria to grow, and all that. So what ends up happening is, again, usually during those like teenage years, and then for some even in adulthood, is you usually have a high carbohydrate based diet that's like a lot of like grain and refined carbohydrate diets and sugar. um, and not that I'm pointing at all those as just like horrific, because I'm not one that thinks that those are just need to be taken out always or entirely. But when those create a high percentage of your diet, then you're encouraging those type of bacteria to flourish. And those are not the type of bacteria that you want in high amounts in your gut. And you actually need this balance anyways. You don't want any one type to just be like massively present. So you got to look at doing different varieties there of greens, fruits, herbs, spices, and making that a much more prominent aspect of what you're taking in. And then the gallbladder, in terms of the fats, is looking at the pH of the digestive tract. You're gonna hear me say that over and over and over again, but it's true. pH of the saliva, pH of the stomach acid, pH of the stomach or the small intestines, and then encouraging those liver bile production and liver bile like detoxification pathways. Kind of things in general that we see help with this, because people often ask me that, like if you're like, hey, if you just throw something at me, what would you throw at me? In terms of the like herb, where I've found the most success myself in practice is an herb called burdock, which really helps to kind of keep like yeast levels down in the digestive tract and kind of help balance that. Burdock root. And then we do different kind of like fruit and green powders for this. But the product line that I like the most, that product is called Thera Supreme, from a company called Supreme Nutrition. If you look at the ones they're choosing to be in there, they're just like low reactivity, because that is something you can't have an issue with. And then B3 as a supplement, and sometimes B6 as a supplement. So B3 is called niacin. The version you really want is called niacinamide, because it's like a non-flush version. So you can kind of take kind of healthier dosages of that. And so we'll come in with that, come with the burdock, come with the Thera, change some of those things in their diet, because the diet has to sustain those changes. And then you'll start to see things clear up. The difference, or maybe caveat here, though, is that you need a certain amount of time. Like so many things in the holistic space, it's time. It's like literally, if we do change everything to be the right thing today, we're still working with the human body and it's like processes. And so it's like, hey, it's going to take time for the liver to change, detox more, produce more bile, get more bile in the gallbladder, make sure the gallbladder is working right, release that bile and break down fats. So there is kind of a time frame that needs to be looked at there. But those are kind of where it's coming from. Hope that helps. Things to kind of think about, and I'll see you next time.